Well, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Iori Folani. I suppose every country around the world, the American election has been something of an event for them. US does have that distinction. Maybe to a lesser extent, the Brits as well. But certainly, for whatever reason, the Americans. So now we have a new president in America. Well, did I just say we? They have a new president in America. Our president has sent his congratulations. When we spoke about it yesterday morning, it was that, as we say in Nigeria, it hasn't actually been called yet. But now I can say it has been called. Kamala Harris, the Democrat candidate, has indeed given her acceptance speech. Yes, concession. Concession is the word. Has given her concession speech, and Donald Trump, as can be expected, has been jubilating with his supporters. Okay, so we'll look at it again today. I did say that when America has an election, a presidential election especially, the whole world sort of sits up, listens, and takes note. So what exactly would be, maybe, let's say, the surprises and the lessons for Nigeria? Were you surprised that President Trump came back after a gap of one term, 4 years in between? Or were you not surprised? And are there lessons in it for Nigeria? That's the general area of conversation this morning. But our president was one of those who got in his congratulatory message to President-elect Trump. Well, it's interesting, President-elect President Trump, because he does have that name for the rest of his life, President Trump. So, President-elect President Trump, if you get my little joke there, he certainly is on the way to the White House. Now our guest this morning, Modupe Ajibola. Mr. Ajibola is founder of Voters Access to Representatives in Election. Then there's Mr. Femi Ojukudu, national strategist of Boot Party. He's a lawyer, and he's also a chartered accountant and social commentator. I can see your picture there. Okay, I can also see the other picture. They will be joining us via Zoom, both of them in the USA. Those two names I've mentioned in the USA. Good morning, gentlemen. I'll be coming to you very, very, very shortly. And then there's Richard Ogunrotifa. He's a policy development analyst and good governance advocate. So, gentlemen, let me take Mr. Ajibola first. Good morning to you, Mr. Ajibola. Oh, God, I understand that Ajibola is not here yet. Mr. Ojukudu. Good morning, Mr. Ojukudu. Good morning,
Mr. Iori. It's nice to have me. And how are you today, sir?
Thank you very much. Great. I'm feeling great. I hope you are too. And then Mr. Richard Ogunrotifa. Good morning to you, Mr. Ogunrotifa.
Good morning. And how are you today?
Very well, thank you. I hope you're good as well. For some reason, you two gentlemen appear a bit on the sort of, subtle, sober side. Let me take it from Mr. Ojukudu. Let me ask the question that our caption is putting. Are there surprises and lessons for Nigeria in the happenings in the America? I'll take it to you first. I'll bring the same question to Mr. Ogunrotifa.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Iori. Yeah, the election has come and gone, has been lost and won. But I can tell you, there are so many lessons learned by the voters, by the participants in the election, and by the voting system. So there are a lot of lessons to learn in the US and by extension in Nigeria. I mean, there are so many things that happen that we need to learn a lesson. Yeah, so first, to put it in perspective, I must say that in as much as we practice presidential system in Nigeria, just as the US, the voting structure, the electoral structure or system is a lot different. So it's difficult to kind of compare them, on the fall, because in the US, they don't have anything like independent National Electoral Commission.
Exactly.
So elections are conducted by the counties, that is by like local government. So it's not something that you have somebody sitting down there waiting for him to collate and announce the result. So that's the first thing we should take. And the second thing is that the voting for the election starts sometimes like 1 month or 1.5 months before the election. And they have three types, like there is mail-in ballot. Everybody who is qualified to vote will be sent a ballot. And they have the absentee ballots, and you can vote before the election, and they have the D-Day. So that's the general difference. I think I just needed to put that in perspective. But regarding the lessons learned, I think as we go along in this session, we'll be discussing those lessons.
Indeed. Mr. Ogorotifa, how about your take on this whole question?
Thank you, Mr. Yori.
Yori will do, please. Yori Folarin. Thank you very much.
Yori Folarin.
Yes.
I must categorically and clearly tell you that the U.S. election have come and gone, and the expectation of people, some are met, some are not met. But the fact remains that the Constitution of the United States of America is sacrosanct, and every citizen of America respects that Constitution. And that is why, if you see immediately after the election, whoever wins will receive a call from the other side. And that is what Kamala Harris did when she confirmed that the election has been won. Aside that, every agitators, every supporters of Kamala Harris, without any equivocation, would immediately follow their leader. I think this is something that is worth emulating. Election is not by emotion. Election is statistics. If you have it in mind, then work among your people. Have the support of your people. Then if you win, good. If you don't win, allow whoever wins or congratulate whoever wins so that things can go on. That is what that is why I'm about to relate this with Nigerian settings. Every election in Nigeria, everybody won. And that is why you see court cases coming up. Even when somebody knows that he has lost election, he will still go to court, wasting people's resources and all that. So this is my observation about and cross-fertilization of idea between U.S. and
Okay, it hung up there, but you had landed the thoughts. I'm sure it'll be back up. Coming back to you, Femi Ojukutu, as to the question, any surprises? Were you surprised? Because it seemed to be a sort of a high-tension affair for a lot of the time of the election. We were hearing from pundits that it was too close to call. Were you surprised when it finally emerged that former President Trump is coming back as the president-elect?
Yes, I mean, it was a surprise. I wouldn't say too much a big surprise because the set was very close. I mean, the first lesson learned was the fact that there were a lot of predictions, in the US and the UK and other countries. They do what they call polls, They do the polls to kind of give you an indication of where this election is tilting. And until the last minute, all we're hearing was it's very close. Like it's going to be something that will drag on. Like, okay, they finished the election. They need to count to make sure every vote counts because the margin is very narrow, like 5,000 votes, 10,000 votes. But it didn't turn out to be that. We are seeing a situation where Donald Trump won by 5, 4, 3, 6% in those states that are regarded as swing states in the U.S. And what they mean by swing states in the U.S. is those states where at some point they vote for the Democrats, at some point they vote for the Republicans. There are some pure red states. Red states are those states that are Republican. There's nothing you can do, they will be won by Republicans. And we have the blue states that there's nothing you do, they will be won by Democrats. So when election comes, the Democrats don't go to the Republican area to campaign because it's a waste of time. Now, same applies to the Republican. So those states that they call purple states or swing states are the state they call the battleground states. And these states are in the Rust Belt and the Sun Belt states. So the Sun Belt are states like Georgia, North Carolina, Florida, and down this way is the Rust Belt. We have Wisconsin, we have Michigan, and we have Pennsylvania. Those 7 states are the battleground. And in the course of the election, all we're hearing was, it's very close. Today you see a poll that says Donald Trump is leading by 1 point. Tomorrow you see that it's tied. Day after it's Kamala Harris. And we felt, oh, this was going to be a big battle between the two of them. But it's like the demographics, everything in this election changed. And it was a landslide. We regard it as a landslide because it wasn't close at all. In fact, we thought that the election would go into 48 hours before we knew the winner. But on the night of the election, we got to know the winner because there was a big distinction between the votes that were cast. And why I said it's a landslide was the last election in 2016, Donald Trump did not win the national mandate. In 2020, he also lost. But this time around, he did not only win the Electoral College. I mean, maybe I need to explain what the Electoral College is. He also won the national votes. So this time around, is a very clear statement by Americans that we want Donald Trump.
Indeed.
And the lesson for Democrats is for them to go back to the drawing table and find out exactly what was wrong. But it was a big surprise, and we shall be discussing that as we go along.
Indeed. Well, how about you, Richard? What?
Well, there are a lot of surprises. One, Donald Trump has made record that he's the first convicted felon to become an American president. It's a surprise. I don't know how he maneuvered his way to even contest that election. And another thing is that there is decline in the base of Democrats in some states in America. If you look at it from Obama's time, where Obama had 60%, during Hillary's election, it declined, and during Joe Biden, it declines, and now it's declining more and more. It means something is wrong in the stronghold, and that has given Trump a hedge over them. It's also a surprise that Trump is contesting because at that time, we never believed he would come out again to contest after losing the first one. And he was determined, and he was playing on his agenda, and people saw it. Both pleasant agenda and the unpleasant one, and people even encourage him to contest. So the Americans will face the consequence of their action.
Indeed. Okay, that will bring me to a question of into the Trump presidency, seeing as we have at least an experience of it. Yeah, it was truncated by the election, and so, most presidents want to go for 8 years. Well, President Trump will be having his 8 years, but with a gap in between, and all sorts of policies have been holding sway since then. But going back to what both you gentlemen spoke about in the opening minutes of the program, the sort of lessons. Now, when you look at it, Femi, when you look at the situation that we have on our hands now, I noted that Kamala Harris, in her concession speech, there's a line there, a sentence there that I sort of picked out, and that was that she was speaking to those she addressed, and she said, well, we have to accept the results of these elections. Even as she went on to say whatever else. I just picked out one sentence. We have to accept the results of these elections. And this was from a person who the elections, tabulation, coalition had said had lost. And she was making that statement within minutes of, well, she was a bit slow to make the concession speech, perhaps understandably. But that particular idea, I imagine it is one of the things that we could sort of learn from here. But it's your impressions that we want.
Yeah, you see, the electoral system and the democratic system in the U.S. is a bit different from that of Nigeria. The organization, how it's conducted. One of the shortcomings of the Nigerian electoral system is the fact that we practically do everything manually. And when they came up with is it BVS or BVAD, it wasn't implemented. The National Assembly did not go ahead to give INEC the kind of backing they needed to make that thing happen. And also, there was an overpromise saying that result will be released online. Yeah, online, was it going to be real time? Was there any coordination between INEC and the NCC and the carriers for them to be able to have the bandwidth to communicate those results? All those things were not found out before they started telling us it would be online. They didn't tell us it was going to be real time. They said online. And the assumption of Nigerians was that as soon as the results were being released, everybody would see the result. And that was not the intention anyway, which caused a lot of issues. So because of the American democratic system, and because of the trust they have in the system, and because of the need for them to sustain democracy and to kind of differentiate herself from Donald Trump, who lost an election, because we now say, oh, well, we have to accept the result of this election. She's saying so, but Donald Trump never said so in 2020. He lost the election, and up to this point, he has not even accepted that he lost that election. And he did not hand over. He left the White House without handing over to the next president. So, I mean, that's something that never happened in the US. But Kamala Harris is from a different background. She's a prosecutor, she's a lawyer, she knows what it is for people to hand you a mandate and for them to take the mandate from you. So she had to kind of subscribe to the fact that she had lost that election. In the case of Nigeria, the way our election is conducted, the election happened the same day. And in some places, as at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, they'll be telling you that they have not even received the ballot papers. And in some places, they will tell you that they were still voting until 11 p.m. In the US, once they say it's 7 p.m., if you are not on the queue by 7 p.m., you cannot vote again because they're giving you over a month to vote. They've sent you a mail ballot. You could vote before the election day. And on the election day, they will open around 7 in the morning. And as soon as they open, you go in there. The ballot papers are there. They're not waiting for ballot papers. And they finish at 7. If you go there, if you're on the line by 7 o'clock, you vote. In Nigeria, intentionally, you will see a situation where they will not bring voting materials. All sorts of things happen. And at the end, it takes time to even collate because of the terrain of Nigeria. If you go to Bayelsa State as an example, they have all these terrains that they have to now bring the results down to the city for them to go to local government, collate, then move to the state collation center, move to the INEC collation center. That takes a lot of time for them to coordinate the result and announce the result. So because of that, and because of all these vulnerabilities between the time you fingerprint and the time it gets to the INEC, there is a lot of suspicion that the result have been changed. So when I believe in my mind, just as Kamala Harris believes she will win, if it had been in Nigeria, she would dispute the result because she would feel, oh, something changed. And even some people in the US have already started saying that, no, why could they have had that many people voting in 2020 and the number is less now by almost 10 million? How can that happen? Something happened to the system. But we know that the systems are well secured. Even if there was fraud, it's always very, very minimal. So we cannot really compare that with Nigeria, where voting happened the same day and the logistic issue, kind of permeates the whole system. So in America, it's easy for you to see clearly that you have lost because you have people on ground. In America, they have people who volunteered, hundreds of thousands of people volunteering. You see vote watchers, they will be there. All sorts of people will be there to watch from beginning to the end. So if you are challenging the election, sometimes you don't have basis. And that was why Trump went to court and his allies, they went to court 60 times during the 2020 elections, and they lost all those suits. And it was when they had lost all those suits, up to the Supreme Court level, that they now resorted to, trying to stop the swearing in of the certification of the election, Joe Biden, the election winner. So that is the contrast between US and Nigeria.
Indeed. Well, thank you. Richard, there's so many things in the election that we don't have a parallel for in Nigeria. Number one, how President Trump, emerged on the ballot of the Republicans. First of all, he's a big man. I say that people know he's touted to be a billionaire and all that kind of thing. People are even, quote unquote, afraid of him within the Republican Party. I don't think we have any such parallel. But then, more importantly for the question I'm about to pose is the fact that President Trump was bent on coming to the White House again because, as has just been said by Femi, he hasn't even conceded that he lost the last election. So he was feeling as if it seemed that I'm claiming my mandate back. That was the attitude with which he came. But nevertheless, he's won more clearly now, arguably, than when he lost to the Democrats. That says one thing, that a lot of Americans want President Trump. That is their right, and they have exercised that right. And here we have Trump. And it seems to be what Trump has been saying all along. What would be your commentary?
Of course, the terrain in America is different from the terrain we have in Nigeria. And that you cannot rule out the tricks of politics in the game that just played out, even during the electioneering campaign. In the same mind of the Democrats, I am of the opinion that they cannot launch attack on Donald Trump during his campaign. So that attempt on Trump's life on that campaign day actually projected him beyond imagination. Because ordinarily, before that time, Trump was never seen as a serious contender with Joe Biden. It was after the event that Joe Biden willingly considered that position for his deputy to take over. If that event has not happened, I believe Joe Biden will want to contest for the second time. And it will be a very tough battle for Donald Trump. So the politics that played during the electioneering campaign was the politics that played within. When Donald Trump was able to get the ticket of the Republican. And in Nigeria here, we understand how our own president tried to, cling to the ticket of APC. Then it was a tough battle. It was even a banter between this incumbent president and the previous one on who is to have the ticket of the party. Even within the party, within the APC, there are some Tinubu's allies who were used and brought out to contest against Tinubu. We all thought that Tinubu would not have the chance to get the party ticket. So we can see a similarity in what happened in America and what is happening here. Sometimes it might be difficult. The leader of the party might say, you are not getting it, and you might prove yourself to be more powerful than the leader of the party by using instrumentality of people you have and other resources you have to get whatever you need.
Okay.
That is my opinion on that.
All right. Let me just bring on our first caller. Good morning, Mr. Joshua in Irewolide.
Yes, Uncle Yori. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for calling in.
And I greet your guests.
All right, then.
Thank you very much.
Uncle Yori, my contribution is bringing it home to Nigeria. And I would like it if your guests can help us to talk more on that. The lesson for me, I thought that Trump was never going to be an issue in American politics again. Talk less of him winning the presidency based on the indictment and all the things that happened towards the tail end of his presidency. Here now we have Trump is back to America. That is the American story as it is today, and that is their democracy. Times International said a president doesn't have to be innocent. It's not about the innocence of the person. I picked that line even before the election. Now, coming to Nigeria, Uncle Yori, let us understand that America belongs to Americans. They have shown it very clearly. Americans are voting for America. They are voting for Trump because of his hardline position towards, non-Americans, as it were. He has strong border policies and all that, and he kept reinforcing it, meaning that Americans want America. Now, we as Nigerians, do we have that same spirit of wanting Nigeria? Then in any election, the first thing you will hear is International community, come and collect our country. International community. Everybody will be shouting international community. As if we don't have a nation.
Yeah.
We are always pricing Nigeria to outsiders and telling them to come and buy it. The American election should speak to our politicians that we have only one nation and we should settle down to make this country work. My take here is that whatever election that happened in America can happen here in Nigeria. We have knowledge. We have the same head as them. We have the same brain. We can deploy our knowledge, our expertise that we use in other areas to conduct a good election that will give us good leadership so that our nation will move out of the brink of collapse if we work together. That's the way I want to address it, sir.
Much for calling in, Mr. Joshua in Irewole there. Okay, well, this is time. Let me just give my thanks to Richard Ogunrotifa, Policy Development Analyst and Good Governance Advocate. I want to thank you very much for coming on our program because I understand that you have to nip off. So thank you for staying as long as you did. Okay, so we'll take a break now. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere, please.
Hello, TVC Communications. How can I help?
What makes TVC the right choice for my business?
Excellent question, sir. Let me share some exciting facts with you.
Start your day on TVC Entertainment with Wake Up Nigeria, a family and lifestyle show. Your view empowers women globally.
It's your view, let it count.
Entertainment Splash delivers the hottest celebrity trends. On TVC News, we keep you informed with breaking news and in-depth analysis of events shaping the world.
I will continue to speak the truth.
TVC News at 7 and TVC News at 10 p.m. delivers the most important stories of the day. Max FM, your hit music radio station, captivates listeners daily across Lagos and Abuja, making every commute more enjoyable. Adaba 88.9 FM is not left out, as it is the voice of Southwest, and on TVC Digital we reach to million viewers daily. All together pulls in over 17 million viewers daily. Contact us on 0707 272 8338 or marketing at tvccommunications.tv. Partner with TVC Communications today. Let's grow together.
Meet Benga Oreshegun, a fearless voice and an advocate for the truth. He's bringing fresh energy and bold insights to Journalists Hangout.
Get ready for deeper analysis and dynamic perspectives. Join me and Babajide Kolade Otitoju with other veteran journalists on Journalists Hangout. Weekdays from 5 p.m. and on Sundays 1:30 p.m.
Okay, welcome back. And U.S. presidential election surprises, lessons for Nigeria. And our thanks once more to Mr. Richard Ogunrotifa, Policy Development Analyst and Good Governance Advocate, who was with us in the first segment of the program. Now, Mr. Femi Ojukutu remains, and we are joined by Modupe Ajibola. Mr. Ajibola is founder of VARE, V-A-R-E. Voters' Access to Representatives in Election. He's also in the U.S. So a fine morning to you, Modupe Ajibola.
Morning. How are you this morning?
Yeah, thank you. Now, we started the conversation, but I at this stage, I wonder if we could just turn our minds a bit to what the world can really expect from a Trump presidency. He's been a unique character, and so let me just get your thoughts on what the world is. I was going to say what the world is up against, but I shouldn't phrase it that way. what America has for the world, because it's the policies largely in America that stay. The presidents come and go, but the policies stay. Take, for example, the situation in the Middle East with Israel and all of that. That stays. Presidents come and go, but that stays where the U.S. will be supporting Israel. So what are your thoughts on what the world can look forward to, even including Africa?
Yeah, so I happen to, thank you for having me today. I happen to have a front row seat to this issue and this election because my platform, as you know, was, we used it quite a bit to collect data from voters before the election. So the goal of it was to help voters know how to be aligned with their reps and what issues and policies matter to them the most so that they could know what to go vote for. We saw a trend before the election that voters were anxious about the economy because inflation was a big issue and how inflation was affecting income. So even though for the Democrats, I'm digressing a little bit, going backwards so I can go forward.
It's all right.
Even though the Democrats had actually, in some of their efforts, brought down the unemployment, they did not realize that the inflation and also the inability to create higher wages for people was creating a stifling experience for white America, specifically white America. And white America was anxious about that. And we kept saying it that this is a big issue, but it was a missed opportunity for the Democrats to explain what they were going to do moving forward, right, to help that situation. Instead, they kept claiming a great economy when people were feeling the pain. Now, having said that, another big issue to people was war. They were tired. Americans claimed, and anyway, in theory, that they were tired of the war. Survey after survey, they kept saying, we're tired of wars, we don't want to go to war, and we think that Trump will be the right president to avoid those wars. This has not bared out yet, and the troubling part for most citizens is that, especially those that did not vote for him, did not feel the same sentiments because obviously we know the relationship with Trump and Netanyahu from Israel. We also know the relationship of Trump with Russia. So most folks were actually more concerned that, yes, if indeed the wars end, it would be because the demoralization of those that are in the war, one side of the war or the other, which means Ukraine may actually have to give in to Russia totally, and Netanyahu would have his way in Israel, and so on and so forth. So it's a conundrum. U.S. is facing a big conundrum because on one hand they don't want the war anymore, but on the other hand, Israel believes that Trump is a better ally for them with some of the wars they're fighting, and he feels like it would have better reign to deal with Iran and the rest of them in the Middle East. So I'm not sure what is in it for the rest of the world, but I do know that they're in for some interesting time. However, some have also argued that the Trump we knew before is not the same Trump now, right? This new Trump doesn't want to, is more collaborative, is more interested in working with people that will work with him. So it would be a missed opportunity for folks not to engage him because they lost an election. But I think both sides should really engage him now because there's no monopoly to U.S. presidency. He's the president of the United States of America. So the folks on the left and right are now beginning to think of this thing differently and how to engage Trump and see how they can actually influence him to continue to support American interests overseas. But make no mistake, Europe is shaken. Everybody is uncertain. But the economists are saying that uncertainty in Trump's politics, antics, is what makes America great. Some have argued that is what makes America's adversary behave themselves because they don't know to the extent of what his craziness, if you were to describe it as that, would lead to. So all of this hasn't bared itself out, but time will tell.
Indeed. Femi Ojukwu, as regards Africa, President Trump, in his first time out, I'm not too sure that he cared very much about offending Africa, quote unquote. Every president has to be a diplomat in chief. So But still, from the rhetoric that we've heard from President Trump towards Nigeria and Nigerians and Africans, I don't know what really to expect from him. He's called us all sorts of unmentionable names, in particular our country, that I don't even want to repeat here. Now that this is his final term, he can't go beyond this because he would have served 2 terms. Do you think we're likely to see any change in the character sketch of the man as we see it in Africa here?
Yeah, Yori, that's a wonderful question. And we should understand the fact that as far as President Trump is concerned, he doesn't reckon with Africa. I mean, from his past policies, he's not even thinking about Africa. And they believe that, Africa contributes about 2 to 5% of the GDP to the world. So what is Africa? The only thing they are interested in is what they can get from Africa, and that is US. US interest is very paramount in anything they do. They want to make sure that there's something in it for them. If there's nothing, they don't care. So, and even when Obama was there, the expectation of Africa was very, very high, and nothing really happened because Obama is not just the one that will push the button. There are policy and procedure which they need to kind of follow to get to that point. And he doesn't have any vested interest in Africa. So I'm not even sure if he visited Africa all through his 4-year term. And let us know now that he's not coming back again after this term. And he has, eventually he will have the Senate, he has the presidency, he has the Senate, he will have the House of Representatives, and he also has the Supreme Court. And we should also remember that he now has immunity to do whatever he wants. So he has the Justice Department, and they have Project 2025, which has kind of outlined what the government will look like. So if you want to have an idea of it, if you Google it, you see Project 2025, and you see what he intends to do, regarding his tenure. Although he denied being part of that, but there's a lot of connection between him and the project, which kind of spells out what the expectations should be. And one thing you should observe is before they even announced, before they declared the winner, because the votes were still going on, they've not even counted all the electoral votes. Some countries already congratulated him. It's like, oh, this man has come again. I have to quickly, because Trump is vindictive. He will check and say, oh, you didn't congratulate me until after 24 hours. You'll be in trouble. That country is in trouble. You will see the president of Ukraine quickly congratulated him because he knows that he will come in there and he will withdraw all the support for Ukraine, and he will just hand over Ukraine to the US, to Russia. Who knows?
Yes. Who he has a very, very good relationship with, the president of Russia.
Yeah. Yes, and that's one of the things. And as the other my colleague here said, is something that people are afraid of. They don't know what's going to do next. And in terms of Israel, the problem, and one of the things that affected this election is people. Is what the mandate that Trump has now is a total mandate. When I say total, it's total mandate. He wants all the Father of Ver can say that all the geographies, the Muslims, the Jews, women, young ones, all of them voted for him. And there's something fundamentally wrong with the way Democrats kind of follow up on their programs. The problem is that they do not know how to prosecute their case. Now, in terms of economics, they will tell you that the GDP of America is better than what it was in 2020 or 2016. They will tell you that unemployment is very low. They will tell you interest rate is this, all this. Look, on the street, and that's what a clue Nigerians should take. On the street, people do not know what is GDP. I don't know what is interest rate.
I hear you.
I don't know what is employment
I hear you.
rate.
But one moment, please. I hear you, Femi. Indeed, I hear you and I agree with you. But we must bring in this caller, Mazi Okoroafo, who has called in from Arochukwu. Good morning, Mazi.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, Mazi Okoroafo from Arochukwu. Honestly speaking, well, congratulations to President Donald Trump. That is the strong man in our present day world. At least God has made it. Now, there are things we have to learn out from President Trump's election. We saw what happened during campaign. From Obama from Harris, from every other angle, especially the former president from Obama. Upon all this, now, Americans decided to say, this is what they want. What is Trump? Trump said, Trump will fix it. America first. He didn't say his family first. He didn't say his tribe first. He didn't say his religion first. He didn't say his community first. He said America. America means the whole community, everybody that says that word, have that blood of America. That is his own target. This is what we have to learn. Now, we have seen how the election went. As the election was going on, everything was so dead. Nobody was complaining. And we have to see what happened. Everybody is aware of it during the campaign. We saw at least Gary was very, very vocal. At least he speaks very well, very fluently. At least as a judge of the Federal Court of America, he knows all the case of the law. I think now Trump,
a prosecutor, actually,
so many
prosecutor.
things, by so many things. All these so many things in terms of weight of 20 and terms of Pope Francis said, Americans, go and vote for the two evils. The lesser evil. That was, I quote unquote, Pope Francis. Americans, go and vote for the lesser evil. And they have now decided to vote for them. Now, what are we going to learn from this? So at least, for me, my own ideology, at least, as I specifically what I've seen, Trump is going to try as much as possible all these crises in Gaza, all these crises in Palestine, all these crises in Kuwait, all these crises and Ukraine, Russia, name them. He's going to put it at least stop it, even the board that's trying to boil up in Iran. Why?
Okay. Mazi, I'm afraid I have to return to our guest, but thank you very much, Mazi, for calling in. Modupe, on that particular point, well, Trump has always, you know, President Trump is President Trump. I don't know that he's the biggest diplomat around. He speaks his mind. He will say it the way he sees it. He will call it the way he sees it. And it's being said that the president is not, you know, interested in any wars. As you would have heard him say, he'll fix any war situation in 3 days, in 1 week. He's going to fix it. I don't know. What do you think of him in this? He speaks. He has a braggadocio way of speaking. You know, he calls foreign presidents nicknames. And so what do you think? Now that he probably is looking at his presidency through the lens of this second chance that he has, do you think there's going to be much of a difference in the man as opposed to what we've seen before?
So the man Trump himself, by his very existence, is policies are built around him. Trump himself, I don't think, cares so much to govern, and I don't even think he plans to govern. What happens is whoever is around Trump, whoever is pandering to his awareness about issues, will be the one that wins the day. We've known this, and that this can be an advantage actually for both Democrats and Republicans that can manage to galvanize around him. What he's going to do, based on his pattern, he's going to listen to those that are more loyal and committed to him looking good and winning, right? And if those people can be more vocal than the other, they will determine what happens. But as far as a mandate to end wars, you can always say that to end a war, you have to go to war, right? You have to go to war and annihilate your enemy to end a war. So any which way, there's so many paths to ending a war or to not having continuous war. And this is the rhetoric that I believe will be seeing whenever if Trump finds himself in a position where he cannot stop a war, he would have to, you know, exacerbate or even increase the rhetoric about the consequence of that war so that it doesn't happen at all. So these are the things I believe that his voters are going to experience when Trump is in power. So I don't think Trump himself has the power to stop Israel from continuing to do what it's doing. But however, he has the power to tell Iran and the rest of those Middle Eastern countries that, look, if they don't comply with certain things, he's going to go all out along with Israel, or he's going to do certain things. And because of the uncertainty about Trump, those folks might actually stand back, knowing that they don't have any recourse if indeed Trump does what he's supposed to do. So Trump's strength itself is in his uncertainty. And folks in the liberal side never understood it. They actually thought his strength the strength the Republicans were talking about was in his braggadocio. It wasn't that. It was in his uncertainty, the inability to predict what the man would do.
All right. Let me come back to you, Femi. It is being thought that illegal immigrants are about to, be in for a very hot time. Some people have even, omitted the word illegal, and I've just talked about immigrants, that Trump is anti-immigrants, especially black immigrants, is the way they phrase it. Whether that is, whether there's any evidence for that is another question altogether. But
well, I have a thought on that. If because we've been collecting data on that. If you want me to shy into that right quick.
Okay, but let me take it. I'll come back to you for it in closing. So let me take it from Femi first, please.
So you didn't finish the question.
Oh, the notion that illegal immigrants are about to catch hell, that Trump actually doesn't mind putting boots on the street to mop up illegal immigrants. I am inserting the word illegal, but when people are in conversation, they talk about immigrants generally. Are they making a mountain out of an anthill in that regard, or do you think will be revealed once President Trump is up and running?
Yes, as Odupe said, that the uncertainty and the braggadocio is what works. During the 2016 campaign, it was the fact that he was going to deport 60 million immigrants, undocumented immigrants. I'm not sure he did 1 million. He said he was going to build a wall around the whole place, and Mexico was going to pay for it. He did not do that. He said he was going to repeal and replace Obamacare. He did not do it. He said he was going to do infrastructure. For the whole period, every year they would do infrastructure week. He did not do it. So most times what he says and what he panders to is what America wants to hear. And that's what he says, just for him to get there.
All right.
Yes.
I get you. I'm sorry, we're running out of time, but thank you very much. Now, let me return to Modupe, because you wanted to weigh in on this whole matter of an alleged anti-immigrant, black immigrant policy especially.
Yeah, so there's something Trump had mentioned right in the rally, the Aliens Enemies Act of 1798, that allowed the government unilateral power to even deport the likes of citizens based on crimes and so on and so forth. And if you know the RICO Act by federal government, you don't have to be yourself the criminal, you just have to be part of a criminal association. So in which case, and there's been sentiments that deporting citizens is not enough. You need to deport them and their family members if you find out that they're part of one of them is part of some crime. We believe that some of Trump's associates are really, really keen on this area. It's not Trump himself, like your guest said. Trump himself wanted to win an election and figured what the people were complaining about. And in fact, one of his biggest immigration ambition is based around what he feels like the economy needs. It feels like the foreigners are taking jobs for so-called black folks, and if he can get rid of as many of them, it would somehow create a pocket of opportunity for Americans to be able to employ in those jobs. Make no mistake, because during the Obama administration, there was revenue that he brought in that came in for him to spend to reduce taxes, which was a big deal in his first term. In this time, there's really no revenue. So, and they're not going to be collecting more revenue, which means they have to make cuts. And they have to make cuts in government, and they have to get rid of foreigners real time this time around, because there's really not enough jobs in America for both the illegal immigrants, the legal citizens even. Criminals have to go. That's their mindset, that if we can get rid of this set, and I speak to Republicans in Austin and several areas that supported his campaigns, they are really pushing this agenda, and they will be the one pushing the agenda on him. So even if he doesn't want to do it, the Republicans, the MAGA people really want this. They want a bunch of citizens that have any sort of record, They will hand them right over to the federal government. Okay. And because he has the federal government power, now he can deport them real time.
You used a word in the MAGA, Make America Great Again. I want to thank you very much, Modukwa Ajibola, founder of Voters Access to Representatives in Election, who joined us via Zoom from America. And, of course, thanks also to Femi Ojikutu, National Strategist, Boot Party of Nigeria, and lawyer as well as a chartered accountant and social commentator. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thank you very much.
All right, then.
Nice.
Okay, so that's our program today. Do please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folari. Bye for now.